all our wonderful viewers all over the world, and welcome to the National Emergency Broadcast on Nigeria 63rd anniversary. What is the purpose of this commemoration? Yes, tonight is an emergency broadcast, and we are going to have an interactive section with a guest that's going to also join us in the studio. Today, the 1st of October, makes the 63rd anniversary of Nigeria independence. As we reflect on these years of freedom from the colonial rules, it is important to assess the accomplishments that have been made during these years. What are the accomplishments? 63 years of independence. 63 years of independence is like nothing compared to some other countries who also got their independence the same time with Nigeria. A country like Singapore also got their independence around the same time. Bangladesh as well. But before I continue, we're going to have to hold a moment of silence for those who fought, who sacrificed, who laid their life for the freedom and the independence that we all celebrate today. These are great men and women who put aside their differences, who put the interest of the masses above their own interest to ensure that Nigeria got the independence in 1960. Thereafter, they fought so hard to lay the foundation, the solid rock, the foundation that those who came after them have tactically destroyed over the last 63 years. We have to hold a moment of silence for people like Pa Awolowo, Azikiwe, Tafawa Balewa, Anthony Nauro. These are some of the great men. I'm just going to mention a few. We have to hold a moment of silence for them, so their soul will continue to rest in peace. Amen. There are none like these great men. We don't have people of this caliber in Nigeria of today. The type of leaders we have over the last 5 decades or 6 decades thereabout after the independence, they are greedy leaders. They are people who are self-centered, who only believe in embezzlement, but not fighting for the masses or putting food, ensuring that food are provided to the less privileged and the commoners in the society. But before I go take a step further, I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to play a boring clip from the so-called the interim president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm going to play. It's very, to me, the speech was boring. It's like a written up speech given to the president to come in the face come to the front of the TV and just tell us whatever that was written on the paper that was given to him. Because the speech is boring, and the 14 minutes 35-second speech, I went through it. The only thing I could pick from that speech was the increase of the minimum wage, the additional increase of the minimum wage of 25,000. What happened to the minimum wage that was passed into law? Some of the states, they are still yet to, to oblige to those the laws by the labor that's supposed to give the commoner and the average Nigerians a little bit of fresh air to enable them to breathe a little bit better. So let me just put a clip before I bring my guest to the studio to join us on this interactive national emergency broadcast on Nigeria's 63rd independence. We need to know what are we celebrating? While you take a moment to listen to this, then we'll...
I wish today's difficulties did not exist, but we must endure if we have to reach the good side of our future. my government is doing all that it can do to ease the load. And path we are taking to relieve the stress on our families and households. We have embarked on a several sector reform to stabilize the economy, direct fiscal and monetary policy to fight inflation, encourage production, ensure the security of lives and property, and lend more support to the poor and the vulnerable. Based upon our talks with leaders and other stakeholders, we are introducing a provisional wage award increment to enhance the federal minimum wage without causing undue inflation. For the next 6 months, the average low-grade worker shall receive an additional 25,000 naira per month.
Thank you, our interim president. That's the only thing I could pick from the 14 minutes and 35-second speech from the interim president. 25,000 additional to be added to the minimum wage for Nigerians. I think my guest is here. Let me bring him to the studio before we can continue on this interactive section on the national emergency broadcast on Nigeria's 63rd anniversary of the independence. You're welcome to the studio, Chief Daniel Egongon
Akwemoka Matthews.
Akwemeka Matthew. Yeah, you know that name. I didn't want to bite my tongue, so I have to pause there. Please, could you introduce yourself officially to our guests, our audience all over the world, before we move on this segment?
Yes, my name is Chief Daniel Egongo Akwemoka Matthews. I'm a true son of the soil from Amedosha, specific Odugbe. I'm a man with a vision, a plan, and a good intention to bring about the fulfillment of Edo State to all Edolites. And yes, that vision or that fulfillment is a fulfillment whereby education, and public education and public health is actually fundamental human right and free.
Thank
The
you so
reform
much.
of our economy.
Thank you. We'll come to your long dossier, but for now, I just want you to introduce yourself, as we are going to focus on the reason why Nigerians should be made to celebrate the 63rd anniversary of their independence, considering the fact that those who fought for this so-called independence, they put aside their differences, they put aside their own interests for the national interest in order to be able to lay or to come about the independence of the nation called Nigeria. 63 years on, can you tell the world, or can you tell the audience, if Nigeria is indeed better off today?
Yes,
What is your take on that?
it's very difficult to quantitatively say if we're better off or worse off. And in any government or in any society, there's a continuous flow up and down of the events or politicking that happen. If we take UK from the days of Margaret Thatcher, where she single-handedly destroyed the mining and the industrial base of United Kingdom simply because he believed those industrial base support Labour Party. They're the bedrock of Labour Party by destroying it without thinking selfishly, destroying the foundation of the productive arm of the government. Although labor union in UK were very powerful then, they were strike upon strike and basically slowing down the economy. That aside, same with America. Over 200 years of American existence, they've had civil wars, they have wars, they have ongoing problem. Even though they're independent, they celebrate it like heaven and earth. For me, as an aspiring leader, or visionary of the society, I would say yes, our independence is still work in progress, and it can never be finished. It's a work in progress, and sometimes we will have a good high, sometimes we have a terrible low. In these 63 years, I can say that you have a terrible low in that kind of expectation of what independence should reflect. The first thing I would like to add to that is the independence that we crave of or crave for is not just an independent of a geographical location called Nigeria or a geographical place. It's the independent of the mind which we focus on. To be more critical society, a society that can think independently and critically, and then be able to advance the cause of humanity in the society. If we were to judge about the last election that happened, it became obvious to me that we are not as critical thinkers as I assume we are, despite in the whole of Africa, we are the most educated. And that's a very alarming change because we see tribal politics being played. We saw religious politics being played. We saw ethnic and money politics being played without any intellectual comprehension. We saw, we saw alleged intellectual people assuming, I'm not pointing any accusing finger, alleged intellectual people rigging election for and for somebody who cannot even prove their identity or their background. I mean, professors, lecturers, highly sophisticated people. So, having said that, would I still consider Nigeria as say something to celebrate? Yes. If we go through Nigeria or like Edo State that have been across, we see vibrancy. We see population growing in youth. Our population of almost 200 million allegedly, we have at least 60% of that will be under 45. You have vibrant, strong economic people. If we travel across the world, wherever Nigerians are dominated, we dominate or populated. We're striving. We're one of the best students in Europe. We're one of the best students in America. We're the most hardworking, most quickly advanced ethnic minority in America and across the world. We're naturally born self-sufficient, hardworking, focused, disciplined people. Now, the government and the society are two different things. We have plutocracy government at the moment. They've hijacked this civil society for self-interest, not for the interest of the common man, the kind man, the generous man. And that is what is lacking because we have leaders, we don't have visionaries. Leaders we have are leaders who are serving their own interest. So in this independent day, we should be reflecting what kind of leaders are we choosing? Who are the people are we allowing to choose to lead us? When the true intelligent people, the compassionate people, people that deeply reflect the average man, don't get into politics, we're going to have touts, marundas, gangsters, drug dealers, people without identity or qualification, governing and making policy for us. That is what is the problem. The problem is not Nigeria is not striving. We are striving. Name any aspect of the society. Nigeria is dominating. Nigerians as individuals, not Nigeria as a government. So we have
Thank
something
you.
to celebrate.
I thank you so much. That is your own opinion that there is actually something to celebrate. But someone like me, I do not belong to that same school of thought that there is something to celebrate. And I will shock you that a country called Singapore in August 9th, 1965, they got their independence. 5 years after Nigeria got the independence, 1960. The country called Bangladesh also got their independence, 1971. Quite a long time, some about 10 years plus, 10, 11 years after Nigeria got their independence. So, for you or for people that belong to the same school of thought like you to say that Nigeria should be celebrating Independence Day, for me, I do not belong. I don't believe that. Because for me, there is nothing for us to celebrate. Because if you look at Nigeria, after the independence 1960, up till 1970, 78, up to 1978, 79, if you look at Nigeria and you go back today and look at Nigeria of today, you will weep. You have no other reason but to weep for your nation. Are you aware, after the independence, that our founding father fought so hard to bring about? They laid a solid foundation for the future, for the next generation after them. But unfortunately, those generation after them, they took it for granted and they continue to embezzle corrupt-minded individuals, buy properties all over the world, instead of fixing or building on the foundation of the founding father. Let me go take a step further. You know, the GDP of Nigeria is just $2,066 per capita. Why the GDP for Singapore, the same Singapore who got independence 5 years later, is 91,137 cents. This is a country who got their independence 5 years after Nigeria got their independence. Okay. Then I'm going to shock you a little bit. I'm going to use a country like Dubai that everybody is now traveling to have holiday. Dubai was a desert. Dubai was a desert. But what brought about the change that Dubai citizens they are enjoying today, the democracy and the changes they are enjoying today, is leadership, the vision of their leaders, which is number one of the key things that we are lacking in Nigeria as a country. The leaders we've had after those leaders that fought for the independence, they were selfish leaders, over selfish. So, for me, people like me, I do not celebrate Nigeria Independence Day. I am sorry. Because the Nigeria that I grew up in, the Nigeria that I know, looking back and looking at Nigeria of today, when I left Nigeria then, I thought Nigeria was bad. But if you speak to people on the phone today, look at the recent development, things that is happening in Nigeria, you will weep for your country. Some Nigerians, as we speak, they are disassociating themselves from Nigeria as a nation. The reason is that because of the failure of the so-called leaders who came after those who fought for our independence. So, is that something to celebrate? The answer is no. Because if you want, the list goes on. I can give you a list of things for which Nigeria do not need to celebrate this independence for. This is my opinion. This is my own opinion, and I have
Okay,
a
can
right.
I?
And I have a right to my own opinion.
I
Yeah, you
agree
can. You
with
can.
your
You
opinion.
can go ahead.
I agree with your opinion. And if we were to dig into history, we have to be very careful that we're not being selective about history that we choose to either support or ignore.
Yeah.
One of the things we should be honest about is when you mention Singapore, for instance, we
Yeah.
should realize all those Singaporeans have one common identity. They're not as diverse and forced together by forced amalgamation as a nation. Singapore, Bangladesh, those two nations you opine about, they have one common language, one common religion, one common tribe, one common duplicity. Nigeria doesn't. Nigeria from the bottom was wrongly forced together through forced amalgamation. The independent, those forefathers you said, they are fought for independence of Nigeria. They were babies when Nigeria was forced together. And if you look at the colonial log of Lord Lugard, this was designed to fail. This current Nigeria is designed to fail. It was designed to never be stable. That's the design. Now, it's either we are critical minded people and say, we have to look at Nigeria critically and say, this is not working. We should separate ourselves through tribal line, through religious line, whatever. Or, which I'm not against of, I think the North should be on their own because they have a common language, common religion, the Southwest, the South, the Southeast, and everything. I'm not against that. However, we don't have that. Then what is the alternative? I'm not saying there's something to celebrate as in Nigeria, as a state, as a nation. I'm saying there's a more to celebrate as a Nigerian, as a society, as an individual. So that's the difference, number one. And if we are looking at the terms of growth of
I think our guest is having some network issue. Anyway, the show must go on. Like I said, for me personally, I don't believe we Nigerians should be celebrating our independence. And the reason is clear. Look at Nigeria after the independence. Look at Nigeria up to 1979, thereabout. And look at Nigeria again up to 1988, 89, thereabout. And look at Nigeria as of 2008. And look at Nigeria of today. You'll be able to come up with your own decision if this independence, the 63rd independence anniversary that they are celebrating is worth celebrating. Nations celebrate their greatness. Nations celebrate their achievement. But what are we celebrating as Nigeria? As Nigerians, what are we celebrating? I beg your pardon. What are we celebrating as Nigerians? Are we celebrating kidnapping? Are we celebrating hunger in the land? Are we celebrating no electricity after 63 years? Still, Nigeria does not have up to 4,000 megawatt capacity of electricity after 63 years. A little bit after independence, all these things were there. The founding father, those who fought for the independence of Nigeria, they had a clear vision and they had a clear purpose for the country. And these were based on the evidence that were on ground as of then. You could tell that these people had a clear vision for the nation. When late Pa Awolowo of a blessed memory was the primer of the Midwestern region, he invested so much into the education of his people. That is why you see people from the Midwest, well-educated people. He invested so much into the education. The infrastructures were there. We used to have Leventis, Kingsway, Bata, shoes, all these things. The hospitals, the missionary hospital, the expatriate were coming to work in Nigeria. Nigeria was working. So where did we get it wrong? It was failures of those leaders after those who fought for the independence. Their failure, their inability to have a clear path or a clear vision, or rather a focus on where Nigeria should be, the next direction Nigeria should be piloted to. They were busy enriching themselves, enriching the pocket of their family and their cronies, buying properties all over the world, looting Nigeria dry. And you are telling me that we should be celebrating 63rd anniversary? Hell no. I'm not part of that celebration. This is my own opinion. I don't ask anyone to agree with me. But if you know that what I'm saying is the bitter truth, then you can align with my own opinion as well. We have no reason to celebrate Nigeria's 63rd anniversary, point blank. For those of you believe you have reason, then I must tell you that you are celebrating failure. You are celebrating untold hardship brought upon the people of Nigeria. That is what you are celebrating. You are celebrating lack of clear vision for the country. Our guest is back.
I don't know
So
what happened. It just cut
yeah,
off.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So like I was saying, I was just telling my audience that for those of you believe that the Nigeria independence is worth celebrating, that's good for you. But I'm telling you that there's nothing to be celebrating about the 63rd Independence Day anniversary. There's nothing. If Nigeria was like Dubai of today, then I can say yes, let's celebrate our independence. If Nigeria was like Singapore, who got their independence 5 years later, with 91,000 per capita, their GDP, per capita GDP, I would say let's celebrate. We are just $2,065 per capita. What are we celebrating? Failure upon failure. Last 8 years of Nigeria, last 8 years of the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari was another disaster added to the 63 years. Now we have another person in the office, an interim government. I refer to him as interim government, who came into the office through the back door. Is that what you want Nigerians to be celebrating today? You, Chief MD, you happen to live in the diaspora. You know diaspora very well. The type of things
Yeah.
that is going emanating from your country, Nigeria. Do you think the British will celebrate something of that nature? Do you think on
You
on the
see,
Independence Day of the British they will come out on the street to celebrate if they were going through the same thing that Nigerians are going through today? Yes or no? That's what I want from you, sir.
you can't ask me a yes or no answer to that because we are very different. I'm not, let me rephrase my word again, or let me restate my words. My own viewpoint is this: it's not that we're celebrating Nigeria as a success, or we're celebrating Nigeria as an example of a great nation to compare with the likes of Singapore and all those places you mentioned. My own point of reference is we are celebrating Nigeria individuals as a point of success across board. When I say Nigeria individuals, I'm very specific about it. I'm talking of the professionals. I'm talking of the individual people in their own capacity who have transformed this nation from doctors, engineers, lawyers, business people, successfully transformed this society across the world. I'm also talking of individuals working their butt off, being a cleaner, being a security person, being a nurse, being a carer, rising to the top all over the world, getting better qualification. I was with a young chap working in a place that I knew where I went to help structure their things up. The guy was studying his master's. He was only 22 years old doing his master's and he was a care worker. You can see that's a brighter future. And all his friends, if take for instance UK, an average Nigerian, even born British, born in UK and or born in Nigeria studying there, they all have a degree. Many of them are going for their masters. I know degree is not all and all in life. My point is Nigerians are successfully doing better. The only problem we have is that we have successful leaders who are calamity and failure. They're people without vision. They're people without purpose. They are people without good intention about for themselves. They enrich themselves for themselves' sake, not necessarily for the betterment of the society. Their governing philosophy is about me, myself, and I. That's why I say you cannot look at those places where they have one common language, one common identity. Nigeria have at least 6 geographical districts in Nigeria that they don't even have anything in common. You can see an Igbo man with a Yoruba man or with an Hausa man and say they're two distinct nations. And being forced together by forced amalgamation, unless we become honest. And anyone who is not being honest cannot.
Yeah, we just our guest is having technical issues on from his end. Yes, like I said, for me, this day is not a day to celebrate in Nigeria history. Yes, like the guest speaker just said, we Nigerians we can celebrate ourselves as an individual for our achievement as a people, and those achievements we are contributing it to other countries. We are helping to build other countries, but not our nation. Our guest is back.
I
Yeah,
apologize, is the internet and this thing. My
yeah,
point I'm
that's
trying
fine.
to make is this. My point I'm trying to make is this. We have to be critical and honest people. It's either we say Nigeria is not working as one nation, and then look at how to fix that as to remain in one nation. Or we say we go our separate ways. And what is lacking in us, I believe we should remain one nation. But what is lacking in that fixing of that one nation is having leaders with vision and purpose for the society. All the 99% of the politicians we have today, they're self-interest. Many of the contestants, even coming to the political arena, they're self-interest. They want to be the senator, the House of Reps, the local chairman, the governor, the president. What is their purpose? Why? They all have cliches. If you listen to many of the let's take Edo State for instance. If you listen to many of the contestants, they have no depth or strategic vision for the state. They all sound the same and repeating the same cliche. We want good governance. We're going to have good governance. Governance like this. No depth. All cliche. It's only in Nigeria you buy your way into position. What do you expect somebody who buy his way and buy his vote through position to do? It's going to be there and serve his own interest. So that is the problem. We need to reorientate our society, re-educate our society about their political powers. When you sell your political will, your political power, your vote, you're selling the right to check the leaders you put in place. Hence, the leaders as bad as the voters. Many of the voters you meet, they'll ask you, what do you have for them? Not what you're going to do for them, for their future, for their generation to come. Look at Labour Party in Edo State right now. Everyone is for sale. You're just beginning to wonder, where are the people with value, with integrity? Politics is a noble game. It's a noble thing played by noble people. Through politics, society change. Through politics, society develop. Through politics, society transform. But the politics we play in Nigeria is a belly politics, pocket politics. You see officials literally begging you for money, compromising their integrity and honor. How do you go home and tell your wife, your kids, your husband that you're supporting somebody because they gave you the most money? Not because they have a vision, a purpose, a depth critical look of how to improve the society 1 inch. Many people are declaring their support for somebody or some other person because they pay them the most. Not because they truly believe this man is credible. One of the dirty talk they talk in politics, most especially in Edo State, they say, we're looking for somebody who has capacity. Answer me, what does that mean? It means somebody that can buy their conscience, somebody that can buy their morality. So what do you expect in a society where the officiating people of the party choose on who pay them the most? You're going to have corrupt politics. If the leaders that run the party make sure a credible candidate come through the system, then we have a fighting chance to reform the society.
Yeah, I think should be network glitches according to INEC.
So as I was saying, we have a fighting chance to celebrate our independence in a proper way. But right now, we're never going to be, because the system that elect the party, a representative, the party flag bearer, the system that pick a candidate for a party, those people administrating those systems are the problem. So blaming a politician in the office who has spent a fortune to buy the morality and the conscience of the people to get to that place is wrong-headed. We should look at the party. Why did Peter Obi left PDP?
Thank you so much. Let me come in here. So, in your own opinion, you believe some of the problem that has contributed over the last 63 years to where Nigeria is today is part of the leadership failure. That's what you just explained to my audience now. So
it's
going
not
forward,
part of the leadership failure. It is the leadership failure. Not in other parts.
The leadership failure. So now going forward,
in order for us to have failure.
So in order for us to have a good society, a society that people like me could be proud of and say, oh, this is worth celebrating. I'm going to celebrate my country Independence Day because this is how far we have come. We've been able to achieve this so much within a short time. So in order for people like me to be able to say, I want to celebrate my Independence Day, or I want to be part and parcel of those who are celebrating Independence Day, what do you think that needs to be done? You are a politician and you are also vying to become the next Edo State governor under the platform of Labour Party that I'm aware of. So, what is your advice from what I just explained to you at the moment going forward?
First thing first, I'm not a politician. I'm a humanist. I'm a man with a vision and a sense of purpose. I'm not a politician because I don't play the politicking game they play in Nigeria. I'm a man with compassionate vision, a compassionate heart for the common man, where a poor child can still go to school and have a good education, where a child does not die because they cannot afford simple medical care, where a woman giving birth do not lose their life because they do not have the access to public care. That is who I am. I'm not a politician. My advice is very simple. If those vying for political position choose to stand on the grounds of morality and principle and say, I'm not going to compromise my own integrity to get into an office, neither I compromise my morality by buying your moral consciousness of you, the party officials, by paying you for you to support me, then we have a chance. Because truth to be said, these individual people are individual candidates who are running for the position, ending up being chosen or being manipulated into the position are not the key problem. The system that got them to that point is the problem. When they get to the position, they want to also make their amends. It's only in Nigeria people go and borrow money to do politics. Why? And that is why many of the party officials are broke, because they cannot hold those people they've pushed forward or manipulate the result for to do anything. They cannot chastise them. They cannot remove them. They cannot form an election or call them back. You know why? Because they've been paid. They are okay. The party officials are okay. The individual, the people they represent are not okay. They don't have free schools. They don't have good schools. Their roads are not being made. Somebody who borrow money to do politics and you support, it pays you, you support. What do you think he's going to do? That road in the front of your house that is broken, that's not been fixed. Do you think he's going to come do that? You will not be able to criticize him. He's not going to do that road because the money you paid, you need to recoup it and pay back with interest. If those vying for the position stand on the ground of morality, the system will change. You are familiar with Edo State. You see what is happening. The rate at which money being spent and the money being demanded by officials is very shameful. You look at some people in there and say, are you not a grown man? Does the worries and failure of this society doesn't bother you? Do you even care that the world, the local government, the state, or whatever that you represent, the people are suffering? Do you care the pain they're going through? Don't you have compassion for the sorrow people are, the depravity people are going through? That you want to demand or expect that you're given X amount of money before you can support the candidate. The greatest failure, the greatest word I've heard is capacity. And I ask, what is capacity? What is capacity? Capacity to govern?
Yeah, I think our guest is having a network issue again. But before he comes back, like I said, the failure of our leaders, the so-called leaders or rulers of Nigeria, has brought us to where we are today as a nation. Okay, our guest is back. Yeah, continue. You have the floor.
Sorry, I apologize. Yes, you will
Yeah.
hear what they would say when they talk about capacity. They say, oh, the way we were beaten last election, this day, we didn't have money to fight. So what were you doing with all the collection membership fees? Aren't you supposed to be collecting to prepare for election? What are you doing with membership fees? So what do you mean by capacity? They're not telling the capacity to win the election by actually being a strategic critical thinker. They're telling you about the capacity to buy the election from them, to buy their vote. Oh, we want somebody that can fight. How? An empty vessel has no ability to fight. You have to fight on ideas and principle and integrity and honor, not by buying people's consciousness. So before we blame the society, which will blame those who officiate the society, we have to go to the grassroots. How the people like Tinubu got to be where it is today. Some people pushed support through the party system. Now he dominates and control the party. Same with Atiku. Look at what happened to Peter Obi. He left Labour, PDP to join Labour because of integrity, because of value. He transformed Labour Party. Now tell me, are the officials in Labour Party living to that expectation? Are they living out to that expectation or that credibility? A lot of the obedient follow Peter Obi into supporting Labour Party, not necessarily the Labour Party members, but the parties. Are they living up to the intention? Like I said, I've declared my interest in Labour Party to run as a Labour Party candidate because I was one of the founding fathers of Labour Party in UK. I was in Nigeria through the election up to this point, travel all over Southwest, campaigning, donating, even in some part of Southeast as well. I paid my dues. But I also said the day I went to see the national chairman and the state chairman executive, I made it very clear. I believe in my vision and sense of purpose. I believe I've been called by God Almighty to bring transformation and compassionate governance to Edo State. However, as an obedient, I'm not wedded to anything. If the Labour Party vehicle would try to deprive that vision being materialized, I would seek the appropriate vehicle, just like Peter Obi did. When PDP tried to corrupt and destroy the vision God had laid in his heart for the greater good of Nigeria, he left. If you truly believe in your conviction and the principle of which you are contexting, that is a compassionate thing, anywhere you go, you will flourish. Coward die 1,000 times
Thank you so
before they are
much.
dead.
If I give you all the time, you will continue to speak and speak and speak and speak, and it will probably be here for the next 2 hours. This is
Trust
a
me.
national emergency broadcast on Nigeria's 63rd anniversary, and we're trying to find out the purpose. For me, like I said, I do not believe that we Nigerians should be celebrating the Independence Day. The reason is clear. All we've been able to achieve over the last 63 years is nothing but failure. But I am proud to be a Nigerian, and I am proud of those Nigerians who live in the diaspora who are making Nigeria proud. Yes, we can celebrate as Nigerians on our own individual capacity. But to celebrate Nigeria's 63rd Independence Day, for me, it's a no, no, no. It's a no go area. Because if I look back at my early age in Nigeria, look back up to 1970 something, 80s, Nigeria was still okay because the foundation that was laid by the founding father were still there, and some of them were still around to control some of these things in their own individual capacity. But those who came after them drag everything down. The hard work of the heroes, of our hero past, they drag everything back down. Today, Nigeria cannot boast of 2,000 megawatts of electricity, population of 220 million. We cannot boast of 2,000 megawatts. When Israel of 80 something million can boast of 60 something thousand megawatt electricity. I mean, sorry, Egypt, not Israel, Egypt. So is that something that we Nigerians should be celebrating when we cannot boast of 24/7 electricity? When Singapore, that I made mention of earlier, got their independence 5 years after Nigeria, they have 24/7 electricity. Not even electricity, but the citizens of that country, they are enjoying the true dividends of democracy in their nation. Their life is flourishing, but can we say the same thing of Nigeria, of Nigerian citizens? The answer is no. So on this note, I am going to be closing this program for today. And for me, we have nothing to celebrate until Nigeria leaders or rulers put their house in order. Then we can start thinking of something else. But until then, my people, Akokoko for us, my brother, Chief MD, it's always an honor to have you here on my program. And I thank you so much for your time. My viewers all over the world, I thank you for this national emergency broadcast. See you next week on Wednesday at my regular program, 6 p.m. Nigerian time. Until then, I say adios.
Adios, people.